Hello! Quick word of warning before we begin. This review, to an extent, will continue on from one I did earlier for the iPad. So if you haven't seen that one yet, you might want to familiarise yourself with it. I shall put an annotation link there. There it is. It's gone now. Magic, eh? Right, what have we got today? Giddy up, pad. Giddy up, pad. Giddy up, pad. Giddy up, WoPad. Yes, it's the WoPad. Registered trademark of something. I don't seem to have bothered actually telling you who's registered it or what it refers to, which probably means it's not registered at all. Right, here is a box. It is white. It has a picture of another Android tablet fashioned after the iPad on the front, and not a lot on any of the other sides, really, until you get to the back, where it tells us all the things it does. Here we go then. Android ebook, video, audio, internet, QQ, MSN, Wi-Fi, HDMI, 3G, GPS, couldn't keep the tune going, doot. Yes, it does all these things, apparently, except I don't think this one does 3G at all, and I don't think it's got GPS as far as I can work out. But never mind, we'll just put a thumb over that bit. And nobody will know any different, except everyone who's already seen it. Right, on the side... we don't need no stinking ticks. Well, I can exclusively reveal that this is actually a silver 4G one. Or is it a black 4G one? It depends if they're referring to the back of the unit or the top of the unit. For the top, she is black, but the bottom, she is silver. Also, since when was metal a colour? Cheats. Some more safety gubbins on here. Probably completely fake. And what have we got here? Small icons. From left to right we have shelter from dandruff using umbrella. Probably best to be drunk on red wine before attempting to use this unit. Gravity goes up now, and the number 5 is stuck on a couple of cinder blocks and can't get down without your help. I think that's what they mean anyway. Right, let's have a look inside. Look at that. Magnets holding the box together. That's nice. And the unit itself, presented in a sort of cardboard bookie box thing, which is quite nice. And inside we have fake Apple headphones. I've said it once, but I'll say it again, like the real ones aren't bad enough. Yeah, power adapter. Never like those, because I always have to, of course, add local adapter before it will work. And I'm always a bit scared they're going to catch fire. But they never do, so perhaps I'm just an idiot. And, of course, a USB cable, which is always of the use. And here is the device itself. Are you ready? I hope you were. I didn't bother checking. Get rid of that. Right. First thing you will notice about this, apart from my strange reflection, is, well, how can we put it politely? Bloody screen isn't in the middle. I mean, come on. There's a far bigger gap here than there is here. How does that work? Why? That's just not on. Naughty, bad. First rule of design, get things roughly in the middle, folks. Never mind. Speakers. Speakers, presumably. A power button, 2 miscellaneous buttons, and you will also notice the iPad-like single button is missing. Hey, we're a tablet. We don't need no buttons. Except these ones, apparently. USB port, mini USB, can't remember what that is, headphone socket, HDMI out, and, much nicer than the iPad, this one actually has your memory card sitting flush. Nicer. It's also got a nicer feel to it. Although it's a plastic back, it has a vaguely metallic feel, which is pleasant, and a strange black bit at the top. Tell you what ain't pleasant, it feels really cheap, this blighter. Really cheap. And I'll tell you for why. This is basically a budget pad, if you like, but has a capacitive screen. Ooh, yes. The biggest flaw of the iPad may have been fixed here. Let's turn it on and see, shall we? Turning on actually makes sense this time round. You just hold in the power button, as opposed to pressing 43 buttons and rubbing your stomach like last time. Okay. That's not a nasty case of warts, that's some pleasing dew on a leaf, I think. Could be something to do with peas. And from there it leaps into... I said from there it leaps into... From there it chugs arthritically into... Yeah, come on, this isn't funny anymore. Okay, it's turned on now. Right, let's get into things, shall we? Let's look at the main differences between this and the iPad. Difference 1. This one has a better screen. Seems fairly obvious, but it is. You may not be able to tell at home, but the colours are clearer, and the whole thing's sharper, and more importantly, it's capacitive this time. So rather than frantically flailing at the screen going, why isn't it working, why isn't it working, you can now just shove your finger or your thumb or any other part of your body you fancy against the screen, wipe it around, and things will happen. And that's not a line to be taken out of context. The next question, of course, is what's happened to the UI? For the user interface was hideous and slow and blur on the iPad. Well, on the WoPad, ding, you're in. No messing around, no funny backgrounds, this just kind of instantly works, which is a bit nicer. Other than that, this is pretty much the same as the iPad. Well, there are a couple of omissions. Not only is the button gone, as we mentioned earlier, but the iPad had 2 cameras, one front-facing, one back-facing. This has none, and they face nowhere. Although, to be honest, the iPad ones were such incredibly low quality that we're not really missing out on a lot. So yeah, other than that, it is remarkably similar to the iPad. Let's have a look at the internet, I suppose, since that is the main use of the device. Browser. Go on then, let's search for something. Let's search for something exciting like celery. Celery. I wonder what the top internet celery site is. I don't know. I'm going to be waiting a while longer. Because, yeah, this still isn't the fastest device in the world, but it does its job. Oh, the magic of celery. Oh, 6 years ago, they probably proved it poisoned your brain now or something. Go on. If I don't see a picture of some celery, I'll be upset. Hooray! There it is. Suddenly, my life is worthwhile. Well, yeah, it's basically the same as the iPad. Loads of pages a little bit slowly, but works very nicely. And of course, with a capacitive screen, you've got the full range of multi-touch zooming in and outy options and stuff. Of course, you also had those on the iPad. Something I couldn't work out, actually, from various YouTube comments I've seen over the last few weeks, is that people seem to think that old-style resistive touchscreens can't have multi-touch, whereas they obviously can. The iPad did, for instance. You know, it's just got to work out that you're pressing 2 areas at once. That's not rocket science. However, of course, it's a bit rubbish on a resistive screen. I think that's possibly why people think it can't be done, because most sensible manufacturers wouldn't do it. Because if you think about it, you've got one big divot here from where you've pushed in, then you've got another one close by. It becomes very hard for it to correctly work out where they are. So that's why you generally only see multi-touch on capacitive screens. There, you've almost learnt something today, haven't you? Wish I had. Right. Ugh, is there anything more excruciating in life than listening to some kids warble out a couple of bars of Good King Wenceslas and then demand money? Anyway, let's get back to this. So far, it's basically the iPad, but with various improvements, and still low price tag, which we'll come to later. But, yeah, there are a couple of weird things going on. In fact, mostly it seems to concern the mighty orientation change. You know, we're looking at it widescreen at the moment, or landscape, as we call it. Change it to portrait. Marvellous. Marvellous. No problems. And yet, the home screen, not interested in it. Same for the applications. I'm certain I could do this on the iPad and it all changed okay. Very, very odd. Not quite sure what that's about, frankly, but then again, I don't really care either. Now, everybody at home is saying, hey, can we play Angry Birds? Because we love Angry Birds. And I tell you, you're stupid, because Angry Birds is rubbish. It's barely a game at all, for crying out loud. It's like a sort of throwing mud at the wall and seeing if it sticks simulator. You can do the same thing twice and it has a completely different outcome because it's too fiddly and you can't do it exactly. It's barely a game at all. Play something decent. Anyway, that's my Angry Birds rant for the day. Anyway, let's have a go, shall we? Dum-dum-dum. Yip-a-dum-bum. Ooh, Angry Birds. Ooh, it's a bit rubbish. Ooh, and yet it's sold more copies than everything else in the history of the universe. Yum bum bum bum. Yum bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Funny. I don't remember Angry Birds being a black screen loading simulator before. So, go anywhere nice for your holidays? Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I haven't been away for years. Oh, did she? Would you believe it? Oh, here we go. And that was Angry Birds. And in fact, that is every sort of vaguely proper game I've tried to play on it. Yeah, it just goes weird and then sticks and you have to force a power off. It's slightly annoying. Much like the way the whole room still seems to be bathed in lava glow. Oh, no, we've got back to normal colours now. So, yeah, that's not really that great. I mean, it's all right if you just want to be looking at the internet for things, but if you actually want to use any of the more impressive Android apps, tough tits, because they ain't going to work. Now this brings us to an interesting comparison. Here is a small Android-based phone, Android 2.1, just like that. This is called the Orange San Francisco in the UK, but it's actually just a weird rebranding of the ZTE Blade. It runs Android 2.1, much like the Pad. It has a 600 MHz ARM processor, much like the Pad. It has 256 megabytes of RAM, much like the Pad. And here's the other thing, the pixel resolution is 800 across by 480 down. Exactly the same as the Pad. So in fact you're getting just as much detail on this small screen. So you could, for instance, I don't know, have this device and just hold it closer to your face rather than using that. But here's the thing, right? Let's just turn her on. Unlocky lock. Let's do this, there we are. Let's see how Angry Birds runs on this, shall we? Maybe a bit closer so it doesn't upset the autofocus quite so much. Yeah, straight away into a screen. Loading, loading. Oh look! It's working properly. So although this has similar specs and pretty much everything, and indeed also has a decent camera, and a built-in video camera of sorts, and of course you can make phone calls with it, it also apparently works properly. But the question you all ask me, of course, is, yeah, but isn't that like 50 times as much money as that tablet? Well, not really. The tablet goes for about $190, which is what, £122. This goes for about £100. So basically, this is an enlarged version of that doesn't quite work properly. Not really sure I can be recommending that, but as ever, there's a link below if you want to buy one. And now, the conclusion. Well, for the money, this isn't a terrible pad. It's certainly 1,000 times better than those things in the next catalogue for £100, which barely work at all. But for your money, you would be far better serviced going for something with a physically smaller screen, albeit with no less detail, that actually does a lot more. Well, I suppose all I can say is think outside the box a little bit. Maybe go for something a bit different to what you expected and you'll end up with a better product. Or if you're rich, just buy an iPad.